Alright, there's a video for 3HT about the second paragraph of chapter 7. Here's a difficult word, trigonometric ratios. And what that is are these three words really. You have the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. And those three buttons are on your calculator somewhere, right? There they are. And we use them to calculate angles and sides. Now the tangent you already learned, that was the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. And the new ones are the sine and the cosine, which work the same way, but they use different sides. For example, here the sine uses the opposite side and the hypotenuse, and the cosine uses the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. Now we're going to take a look at a couple of questions. First, exercise 16. It says, express as a ratio of two sides. So here's what you'll have to do. I'm going to write down exercise A. The cosine of angle A is, and then we need to divide two sides by each other. So we have to see in this figure what you have to do with the cosine. With the cosine you have to do the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. So if you take a look at angle A is over here, that means that the adjacent side is this side and the hypotenuse is that side. So the only thing you have to write down here is AB divided by AC. We can't calculate anything because we don't know any numbers. But in a moment with exercise 23, we're going to calculate some angles. But for question 16, we only have to write down which two sides you actually use, and that is it. Exercise B, here we have the tangent of angle A. And the tangent was the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So for angle A, this is the opposite side, so that's BC. And this is the adjacent side, so that's AB. Moving on to exercise C, now we have to write down what the sine of angle C is. Well, angle C is over here, and the sine was the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. So the opposite side of C is AB, and the adjacent side, it was the opposite side in the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is AC, so that's going to be over here. And then D, here we have the cosine of angle C. So we have angle C. The cosine says you have to do the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is BC, and the hypotenuse is AC. So this is what you have to write down for exercise 16. And that is it. You don't have to calculate anything. The calculating part actually comes with this exercise. Here we see a couple of triangles, and in these triangles we have to calculate some angles. In my next video I'm also going to show you again how to calculate some sides. Right? This is about angles, and in another video we'll talk about some sides. With exercise 23 we have to calculate what angle A is. Well, this length is 4 and this length is 5, and we want to know this angle. Now the first thing that we should do is figure out, do we have to use the tangent, the sine, or the cosine? Well, if you look at this angle, AB is the adjacent side, BC is the opposite side, and AC is the hypotenuse. So we know the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. If you take a look in this schedule over here, it says adjacent and hypotenuse is the cosine. So if you want to calculate angle A, then we use the cosine. And if you calculate an angle, you always use the -1 version. Please don't forget that. If you calculate a side, then you just use the normal button. But now you have to press the blue button first, right? And then you press the cosine. So we have to do cosine -1 and then 4 divided by 5. So maybe you want to see one more time how to type that into your calculator. So let me show you. First we press this button, and then we press the cosine, which is over here. Then we get that, and then we do 4 divided by 5, and then the answer should be 36.9 degrees. And that is it. Then we're going to go to exercise B, angle F1 and angle F2. So if you want to calculate angle F1, which is this angle, we know the opposite side and we know the adjacent side. Opposite and adjacent, that was the tangent. So now we have to do tan -1 and then the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. If you calculate this, you get 21.8 degrees. For angle F2, here's angle F2. We know the adjacent side and we know the hypotenuse. Adjacent and hypotenuse means that you have to use the cosine. So now we use that button and we do 5 divided by 9. And then we have the answer, which is 56.3 degrees. Then we're going to move on to exercise C. This was A, B, and here we have C. We need to calculate angle L1. So angle L1. Angle L1 is over here. Now we know, hopefully it's still a bit readable. I'll show you a bit here. We know the adjacent side and we know the opposite side. We don't know the hypotenuse. So opposite and adjacent means we have to use the tangent. So for angle L1, we do 10 minus 1, and then we do 6 divided by 3. Now you can type that into your calculator, and then you get 63.4 degrees. And then we're going to go to the final one, which is angle L2. Oh no, wait, we need to know angle N, which is this angle. Yeah. And then we know the opposite side and the hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse, that was the sine. So now we do sin and then 3 divided by 4. Now you can type that into your calculator, and then you get 48.6 degrees. And that's how exercise 23 works. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.